Okay, so let's start with the questions. Okay, do you have Apple M1? If it is Apple M1, then it is not supported for VirtualBox. You have to use Parallel. Okay, Hassan Turhal. What is it? Already seen it. So you do sudo -i, right? You do vagrant SSH, you log into the VM. But sudo -i you're doing where? All right. Waiting for cleanup before you did Control C, something like that. Vagrant SSH. Uh, one. Okay, this is. You have to log in inside the VM. This is the VM command. This is an Windows machine, right? Sudo -i. You are trying to be, yeah, and then you do vagrant SSH. Okay, you have to do vagrant SSH first. Login. Vagrant SSH is command to log in inside the VM, and then you can run your all the Linux commands. Okay. All right. So Vagrant SSH will log you inside the VM. Then what is status command and what is halt command? Vagrant status command is there, Vagrant halt command is there, and it is not in the VM. It's for your laptop or your computer. Okay.
I tried in the PowerShell. It shouldn't be that way.
You can do it in PowerShell also, but look here, Vagrant @localhost. You are inside the VM. You do Vagrant SSH. You log in the VM, right? When you're inside the VM, then this is
Okay.
Linux VM. Vagrant is not installed inside Linux. It's installed on your computer, right?
Yes.
Right. So you're running. First of all, the command itself is wrong. Second thing is you're running at the wrong place. You're running on a Linux VM. It's that Windows command that you're running.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, you don't need to open this and log in. If you want to open the console and log in, then the username is Vagrant and the password is Vagrant. Okay, but you don't need to do that. That's the whole purpose. If you want to do that, then why do we use Vagrant? Right? You do Vagrant SSH and you will get inside the VM. Okay, from the same directory. All right. So last session we have set up virtual machine with Vagrant. If you have still not done it, do it. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bring up the VM and we will start learning Linux from today onwards. All right. So let me open Git Bash and I will go to D drive, batch data, classes, 815 batch. That's my directory. Oops, not here. This is the older one. My bad. I need to archive that one. All right. Now, do you remember where did I create the Vagrant file? You must have also created the same directory, right? And I will use the same one. All right. Yeah. There. That directory created. Nice. All right. And I'm going to check Vagrant status to see what is the status of my VM. I think it should be powered off. Powered off. That takes awfully long time. It's powered off. Okay, yeah, it's in a saved state. So it's saying just do Vagrant up to simply bring it up. So I'm going to do Vagrant up and it should be coming up. Okay, So what is the saved state? Well, the VMs were running, I shut down my laptop, and the VMs will go into a saved state. It may also get aborted also. So before you power off your computer, make sure you do vagrant halt, power off your VM, and then power off your computer. Okay, now it went into a saved state, and now I'm saying vagrant up, so it's gonna come up. But if it goes into aborted state, maybe it becomes irrecoverable. And that's not going to be a big problem for us because we can create VM whenever we want. But if that VM holds some data, like some scripts or something that you have written, then you may lose it. Okay, so my VM's up, and all I need to do is vagrant SSH to log in into that. And then we will start with Linux. Oh, you know what? Before even we start with the Linux introduction and stuff, let's see some quick commands in Linux. Vagrant SSH, I am inside the VM. Okay, now first thing you need to observe here is the prompt. Look at the prompt, it has changed, and that should tell you that you are not on your laptop, right? This is the prompt of my laptop, right? Username @ my computer host name and the directory I'm in. When I did vagrant SSH, I left my computer. I am now inside the VM. I'm in this VM, inside this VM. Okay, I'm not anymore on my laptop. And look at the prompt, vagrant @ localhost. So let's understand this prompt. So when you do vagrant SSH, vagrant will give you a default username and login key. So you will log in automatically with that user, and that user is vagrant. You run whoami command, it will tell you what user you are. So it's vagrant user. Host name command will tell you what is the host name of your computer, of your VM where you are connected. So it's localhost.local domain. So basically you can understand that this is the username @ the host name. Okay, then what is this tilde? There is this tilde, this is called tilde symbol. Tilde means home directory. Home directory. PWD, present working directory. This is the command that will show you you are in which directory. So I'm in this directory. In Windows, you call this as folder. So vagrant user will be in the vagrant user's home directory, obviously. When you log into your computer, you will land up into the home directory. So vagrant user is in this directory. Okay, and when it says tilde there, that's what it means. It's in the home directory of vagrant user. Now I'm going to run a command cd/temp. Cd change directory, move to a different directory, temp directory. And now if you will see, this has changed. Right? Now I can do cd and the home directory path. I can do that and hit enter. I don't even need to do that. If I do cd and hit enter, I will come back to my home directory. See that tilde also should tell you that you're in home directory, but if you can run pwd, it will tell you which path exactly you are in. Right? Once again, if I go to temp and I do pwd, I'm in temp. It's showing me present working directory. cd, hit enter. See that? Now I'm back in the home directory. And that's the proof. Right. So then what is this dollar? Well, we know dollar means what? Yeah, right, but not here. Okay, this is different. That's not the dollar. Here dollar means normal user. There is a user called as root user, which is the all-powerful user in the Linux, the admin user. So sudo -i, you run this command, this is going to switch to the root user. Now look at the prompt. Username has changed here, root, and this tilde symbol, this is root user's home directory we are in. So whoami will tell you what user you are. See that? That's correct, root user. If you run pwd, present working directory, you are in /root. So this is the home directory of the root user. This is the home directory of vagrant user. Every user will have its own home directory. Okay, so root user home directory is always this /root. And you can see that tilde. Whenever you see tilde, that means you are in the home directory. Simple as that. Whose home directory? Well, this user's home directory. And you see from dollar, now it has changed to hash. Hash means root prompt. that means be careful. It's like that, you know. Root user is having complete control on the Linux system. It can do anything. So if you run some dangerous command over here, it will execute and it will work, maybe deleting data or something like that, right? So you know, that's why they created this difference. Hash is so you can be alert, oh, you are in root prompt. Dollar means you are a normal user. Vagrant is a normal user. But one thing I want to quickly point out here is a Vagrant user has a privilege to log in to root user by running sudo -i. We will understand this technical concept of how this works, but this is some basic commands and understanding your prompt before we start Linux. Okay, so I'm going to now exit. So I'm logged in as root user, so I type exit and I go back to Vagrant user. I type exit once again. Now I'm going to be thrown out of this VM. I go back to my computer. Okay, I'm back. You see that? Look at the prompt and remember and understand where you are. Okay, two words, technical words I will be using now. You have to memorize them, and whenever I use those words, you can understand what this means. First one is host machine. Host machine in this case is my laptop. Guest machine means the VM, virtual machine. Okay, so I have installed Oracle VM VirtualBox on my host machine. I created a guest machine CentOS 7. Okay, once again, I'm going to close my git bash and open the git bash once again. Look at the prompt and tell me I am in the host machine or in the guest machine.
Host.
Sure, everyone? Okay, Vagrant SSH. I'm doing Vagrant SSH. I will log in inside the VM. Okay, so look at the prompt and tell me I'm in the host machine or the guest machine.
Yes.
Guest machine.
Guest machine. Okay, guest machine, which is a CentOS 7 virtual machine. Now I am at my host machine or my guest machine.
Host.
Okay, once again, what is the guest machine operating system?
CentOS.
Very good. Okay, Linux CentOS. Yeah, obviously. Linux is CentOS. All right, awesome. All right, so now you're ready to get started with Linux. Okay, so for a few days we will be learning Linux. We're going to start from very basics of Linux and we are going to move to server management and all those amazing concepts. And once you're good with Linux, I will start AWS cloud computing. Okay, it's necessary.
One. Okay. Sorry, Imran.
Good.
No, Imran, I was about to ask you, like, to what extent Linux is important for DevOps? And one more thing is, like, I mean, along with our course which is going on, is there any way, like, we can prepare in parallel for the interviews with respect to Linux, so that it'll go in hand in hand? I know, like, it is like I'm asking
All right,
before
I got
starting
it.
the session itself.
I can answer the question now. Okay, so first thing is that do not do it parallelly. Okay, there are many things in Linux we'll be learning. We are starting with very basics of Linux and we'll be doing server management, but Linux administration is a different concept. I mean, not concept, it's many more thing. Okay, from what you're saying, it seems like you are preparing for Linux interview. Okay, being a DevOps, we are not preparing for Linux interview. We are preparing for DevOps interview, where Linux is the basics, and then we are going to learn so many automation tool, cloud computing, many cloud services, containers, Kubernetes, and that's what you prepare for the interview. Linux is not going to be as deep as you're thinking. So if you want to prepare it parallelly, maybe after completing this Linux, then you can start Linux administration course. and you can parallelly do it with DevOps, but that will be too much.
No, Imran, like I'm planning to completely focus on DevOps only. So I thought
Mhm.
like, I mean, my plan is like to switch to DevOps from my current technology. So I thought like, if, while you are going with the class, I can parallelly prepare on the topics which you cover. So I'm asking from DevOps
Anyways,
perspective only.
anyways, this is now for everyone. Whatever topics we are covering, guys, you have to prepare. That means you have to do it. You practice it, and that's how you're going to prepare. Okay, so you are obviously, everybody over here are going to parallelly prepare, because if you do not prepare for Linux, you will not be ready for AWS. If you are not prepared for AWS, you won't be ready for automation, cloud computing, sorry, scripting, and all those things. So yes, of course you have to prepare parallelly. Okay,
Okay, got it.
all right. All right, that was some Q&A. Okay, so now let's get started with Linux, guys. So what is Linux? Before that, what is open source? We are going to take most of the open source tools and operating system in this course. And in IT also, most of the places you will see open source tools and technology. And if you're thinking open source means free software, you are wrong. Okay, because there are open source software that are not free also. Well, I'll tell you. Open source means the source code of the software is freely available. The code of the software is available. Okay, the source code, right? There are many Linux open source operating system. There are many open source softwares like Jenkins, Ansible, many other, MariaDB. Okay, many Kubernetes, Docker. There are many open source software available. So what that means is it's not about the software, it's about the code. Open source means the source code is freely available. For what do we do with the source code? Well, you can take the source code, you can modify, and you can redistribute also. So you have complete freedom at the code level, not just for the software. And if the code is available, obviously the software will be also available. Okay, but when I said some open source softwares are not free, that means there are support that comes with those software which you can take from some vendor. So that's why I'm saying that some open source software are also not free. Open source doesn't mean free, it means the source code is freely available to now. So you have freedom basically, okay, to make changes. Linux was created by Linus Torvald. Before that, before 1991, you had Unix operating system, right? Very powerful operating system. It works very closely with the hardware level. So Linus Torvald created a Unix-like kernel. Kernel is the heart of an operating system. Actually, kernel is the operating system. What you see is the GUI, the tools, the software, right? The GoToMeeting that you're seeing, the Chrome browser or the file explorer, these are utilities, these are softwares. Operating system is actually the kernel, which you really don't see. Okay, but that's what actually turns the hardware resources to the software and provide the resources to the software basically from the hardware. So Linus Torvald created a Unix-like kernel and he made it open source. And after that, there was a flood of operating system. Then many communities, companies took that open source kernel and they created their own utilities with it. So Linux kernel plus their own GNU utilities. And then they created a complete open source Unix-like operating system, which is called as Linux. For example, Ubuntu Linux, CentOS Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Debian Linux. There are many flavors of Linux operating system in the world, and they're continuously under development. Okay, recently I saw one very beautiful desktop Linux. I am really planning to install it. Uh, I read it in a magazine actually. So Linux Wikipedia list. Okay, Uh, in Wikipedia, you have the list of all the Linux operating system, almost all, and you can see there are many: Red Hat Linux, CentOS, Fedora, Asian Linux, Scientific Linux, Amazon Linux, that is from AWS. We'll be using that later. Berry Linux, Ubuntu, and some are server based, some are desktop based, and some are for scientific purposes, some are for this, some are for that. And based on their needs, people are creating their own operating system. Okay, many operating systems. You have Ubuntu, right? And Ubuntu itself has many more flavors, right? Edubuntu, Gobuntu, many other, Ubuntu TV. Okay, that did not work that much anyways. Before even Android came, Android is a Linux, right? And before even Android came, there was Ubuntu Mobile, but it didn't go on floor. I don't know for what reason. I was planning actually to buy that phone, but then Android came, and what happened, right? So you understand the power of open source. Before Android came, there was Apple smartphone and there was this Windows smartphone, and only two smartphones he had in the market. BlackBerry, yeah, BlackBerry and Apple, right? iPhone. When the Android came, you know what happened after that, right? I don't need to tell you. As you see the power of open source, right? It gives you the freedom. Anyways, that was Linux origin. I don't want to go too much into that. Some Linux principle, please read them. I give you a moment. I'm gonna go through them. This is very important principle for a beginner, extremely important also for DevOps. Read them. I will read them again. All right, so everything in Linux is a file. You have mouse, keyboard, hardware, that is also a file. Script is also a file. Command is also a file. Everything is a file. So when we use the word file in Linux, it could mean any file. It doesn't mean a text file. Okay, there are different types of file. In Linux, we have small single purpose programs, and we chain those programs together to perform complex tasks. Okay, you will see some example of that. In DevOps also, that's what we do. We have small scripts to do some automation, to do some automate some task, and then we chain them together to perform a complex CI/CD pipeline or DevOps lifecycle. Okay, the reason I'm focusing on this is telling you to read it, because these are the principles that we also apply in DevOps. uh, Avoid captive user interface. That means, mm, like typical Windows, right? You want to install a software, you double click, next, all those things. And you want to change some settings, right? You go to settings, advanced tab, this tab, that tab, click, and 100 clicks, and then you enter something, then you say okay, apply, save, all those things. This actually captures the user's interface. User needs to be there and enter that, otherwise it just halts there itself, right? So that's captured user interface, captures your interface. In Linux, we avoid that. In DevOps, we absolutely want to avoid that. The reason for that is, in DevOps, we will be chaining programs together. They will be running in backgrounds and stuff. So if it's waiting for the user input, it will wait forever in the background, right? So avoiding captive user interface is necessary for us. Okay, so don't make interactive programs, interactive scripts, right? Enter this, enter that, enter this username, enter that value, enter this value, click on next, say yes or no. This is interactive. Okay, we avoid that. Keep in mind, this is one of the best practice. You need to write it down today. Okay, avoid captive user interface. You will say, then what about the configuration? What if I need to select something? Well, we store the configuration data in text file. So program will read those text file and they will take the input, you know so you don't need to select everything, right? You open some text file, you make some changes, you put the values, and then you just fire the program. It will complete and return the output. Okay, if that is the case, you can run it from background, you can run it from other script, from anywhere. Okay, this is going to give you freedom, but if you make interface captive user interface, you'll be very restricted. All right. So why Linux? Well, there are absolutely many reasons. One thing is that, you know, we don't have a choice. Okay. Most of the things runs on Linux. So being a DevOps, you need to know Linux, so you can manage those things which are running on Linux, like a database, like a website, web application, okay, like an automation tool, right? They will be running on Linux operating systems. So if you don't know Linux operating system, then you know you can't manage them. Simple as that, right? Some common reason for the common audience is Linux is open source. Yes, we get freedom. We have community support. We get into problem. We are not vendor locked in. We can customize Linux a lot. Most of the servers today runs on Linux operating system. All right. DevOps, most of the tools implements on Linux. There are many tools that we will be using in this course, and later also after the course there will be new tools coming up. You will be seeing most of their tools runs on Linux only, and the one that runs on Linux and Windows both, those are also there, obviously, of course, but still we run mostly them on Linux for good performance. For example, Jenkins, you can install it on Windows and Linux also, but mostly you will see it running on Linux. Okay, and you will understand that in few days itself why I said that. uh, Automation is very easy in Linux, very easy. Shell scripts and all you can use, very easy. There are so many automation tool in Linux, so doing automation is very easy in Linux. It's also secure. That's the topic that I don't want to debate on. That it is secure though, I believe totally, but then comes the debate, so let's leave that. Okay. uh, Coming to some directories. For today's day, you need to by heart all this directory structure. This is, you can say, file system of the Linux operating system, different directories and what they hold. Like, for example, if I go to my C drive, right, you see different folders here, right? Windows and program files, 86 program files, right? uh, Drivers, right? So these different directories are in program files. You go, there are many other folders, subfolders. So there's some purpose of all this, but we never look at them because we don't need to. But in Linux, you are going to be a power user, almost an admin. You will be almost an admin. Okay. I know this is not a Linux administration course, but we'll be doing a lot of Linux. Till the end of the course, we'll be learning some or the other thing in Linux. So you will be almost an administrator in Linux. But so when you want to be that, you should know the Linux file system structure. Okay, like home directories. We have seen the root user home directory is /root. Normal user home directory will be /home/ the username. Like we already seen that. Right? Let's log into this once again. Oops, clear vagrant SSH. All right, so whenever user log in, the user will land up in its home directory. So which you can see there tilde also, pwd /home/vagrant. That's the vagrant user's home directory. Sudo -i, I log in as root user, and then I'm in the root user's home directory. Okay. cd /. This is called as a root directory. Don't get confused here. This is root user's home directory, and this is a root directory. There's a difference. Currently, I am in root directory, not in root user's home directory. That's root user's home directory. So what is root directory? Well, this is the root top level directory of the entire operating system. Everything in your Linux is inside this or under this. This is your entire Linux operating system. Okay. So /root, you see that right there, root user's home directory, /home/vagrant. Inside that there'll be vagrant directory, that one. So everything in Linux, every file path starts with /root directory. That's called as root directory. Everything is inside that. Okay. Now you see many other directories here in the root directory. Okay. You see here bin, you see dev, home we talked about, proc, srv, boot, etc. or etc, media, opt, root, which is root users home directory, sys, usr, var, many different directories, right? These are the top level directories. On top of this, on top of everything is the root directory. Root directory is on top of everything. Okay, so user executable are stored in bin. User executable means commands like pwd we run, ls we have run, cd we have run. These are the commands, user executable commands, which any user can execute. Those are stored in /bin or /usr bin or /usr /local/bin. System executable, sbin, user sbin, usr local sbin. Now s stands here for the system. That means can be executed by root user. Okay, these are root executable commands in this. Okay, now you can run one command. You can say ls/bin, which will list all the files in the bin directory. Okay, these are all the files in the bin directory. These are basically the commands, right? For example, see that who am I, that's the command we have run, right? And the pwd and stuff, all the commands will be here only is pwd. It's fine, pwd. You see it? Do you see it? Do you see it? Oh, come on. pp. Yeah, there pwd. Took quite an effort, right? But don't worry, I'll show you how to filter also. So like that, ls sbin, this is system executable commands. Okay, so you like that, you can list the content in a directory, right? Then mount points, you connect a pen drive or a CD, something like that into Linux system, it gets connected to /media or /mnt. Configuration data are stored in etc. This is one directory where we'll be spending a lot of time in our course. Whenever in Linux system we need to change some configuration, we need to be in etc directory. Okay, configuration files. Temporary files, temporary data which you don't really care about. Okay, temporarily you download some software, you install it, right? Installation is done, you don't need software. So such kind of data which we don't really need, don't care, we put it in /temp. When you reboot the machine, the /temp directory will be cleared, it will be all gone. So be careful, don't put anything that you need it permanently. Kernels and bootloaders, it's stored in /boot. Server data, this is also one more place we'll be spending some lot of time. So server data really means, if you're running some service on your Linux machine, like database server, MySQL, we'll store data in /var lib MySQL. Or we're going to host a website, maybe in 2-3 days on Linux machine, we are going to store our data in var www.html. Okay, the website data. So server data is stored in /var or /srv. Configuration is in etc. Don't confuse in between these two. Okay, server data, configuration. System information. Let me show you some commands. Okay, we'll come back to these commands, but one, uptime. This command is going to show you from how long the system is up. Okay, this much time this VM is up, this Linux machine is up, one user is there, and load average. We'll understand these things, but I'm just showing you that these are some commands. Free-m, this is going to show you RAM size. So this is your RAM size, right? 486 MB, and used is 100 MB, and you still have 396 MB available. Okay, a df-h, this is going to show you this one, root directory. You check this one. Available size is 49 GB, total size is 50 GB, 1.5 GB is used from that. Right, so this is system information, right? So the system information are stored into, again, some files. Those files are located in /proc or /sys. Now you don't need to go into /proc and sys and fetch it. Mostly you'll have some command that will fetch that data, like we have seen uptime, free-rem and stuff. Libraries. In the Linux machine, we run many softwares that are based on Python or Ruby or Java, and they need libraries. okay, pre-written programs. Those libraries will be stored in lib, usr lib, or usr local lib. Okay, wherever you see local, here local, here local, here local, wherever you see local, this is for locally developed things. Like if you develop your own command, you're going to store it into local directory, usr local sbin or usr local bin. If you develop your own library, you will be storing it in usr local lib. Now that's a standard practice but not mandatory. Okay, if you will see, the local directories will be empty initially, like ls usr local bin, see, empty, usr local sbin, empty, okay, usr local lib, empty. So when you develop your own tools locally, you put it into these directories. That's what it means. So initially it will be empty. Okay, so these are the directories you should really by heart. Okay, starting with the root directory, guys. I am currently in the root directory. See that? Root directory. Right? Slash home is inside that, root is in, boot is inside that, etc is inside that, opt, root, all everything is inside that. All right, all right. So by heart this, very rarely I will tell you to by heart things, guys, but some things that are really concrete that never changes, yes, I will tell you to by heart. Okay, but 99% I will not tell you to by heart. I will tell you this documentation, and you can get it from here and there, and this is the help available. But some concrete things like this, port numbers, protocols, right, which never changes, will you need to by heart them. Okay. Okay, different types of Linux operating systems you have, guys. Right, the basic structure is same. Even if you go to Android phone, you will have this directory structure, Unix, Linux, anything. But then there are different types of Linux operating system. You have desktop operating system in Linux, and you have server. Desktop is like desktop, like you have Windows 10 or Mac OS, right, to manage your desktop. Ubuntu is very popular name. um, what was that? There's a new Linux operating system, I forgot its name, fish something, cute fish. I loved it. Okay, I mean, I've not used it, but I looked at it and I loved it. Very beautiful. Okay, very beautiful and very easy. So cute fish, that's a new Linux desktop operating system. But there are many names. Okay, you can choose any one, and you can have Linux as an operating system for your laptop. You don't need to overwrite your Windows for that. You can do dual boot. If you can do dual boot, I recommend you do dual boot. It's very easy to do dual boot. I recommend you watch YouTube videos and all and see how to do dual boot. If you can do dual boot, and use Linux as much as possible for desktop. You will be safe, one thing, and you don't need to spend a lot of money. Okay, you will be safe from many kinds of attack. Many kinds of attack you will be safe. So I recommend you do dual boot. Have Windows and Linux both on your laptop. You can boot into any one. Okay, dual as in two, not dual boot, dual. Wait, is my pronunciation that bad? Dual boot, dual. Okay, so do dual boot, dual boot. Try that. But before you do dual boot, take backup of your system if you have any important data. If you go wrong, you may overwrite your existing Windows operating system. Okay, it doesn't happen, very rarely, if you don't look at all. If you're careful, you will have Windows and Linux both on your machine. You can try Linux Mint, you can try Ubuntu Linux. Linux Mint is very closely to like similar looking like Windows. But I'm going to try cute fish. Okay, I'm not getting time for that. Anyways, there's a server Linux operating systems that is used to manage the server, and in our course we'll be using server Linux operating system. RHEL is the top name, the biggest name. Then you have Ubuntu server, you have CentOS, SUSE Enterprise Linux. So in our course we'll be using Ubuntu server, CentOS, Amazon Linux, RHEL, There is freely available, but the problem with RHEL is that it's a licensed operating system, and if you want to install softwares on that, it all comes from the Linux, Red Hat Linux repository, RHEL repository, and for that you need to take a license. Okay, RHEL is the most stable, safe, and robust Linux operating system in the world. Okay, supercomputers, world's fastest supercomputer uses RHEL. Okay, it's that amazing. Anyways, but we don't want to spend any money for operating system, so we'll be going with Ubuntu's and CentOS mostly. All right, all right. So I have shown you the list, right? There are many Linux operating system, many. Just can't even count it on the finger. That many, and every day some or the other new Linux operating system will come up, right? Like I'm telling you about Cutefish, right? Like that many Linux operating system comes. So which one do you use? Which is better? Which is good? Which is bad? Stuff like that. First of all, I want to tell you it's all based on requirement, but there are two Linux family that are very popular in the IT industry. One is RPM based, the other one is Debian based. When I say RPM based, it's mostly Red Hat operating systems like RHEL, CentOS, Fedora, but there are more RPM based. Apart from Red Hat, there are many more RPM based operating system. And then there are Debian based, like Ubuntu is Debian based, Kali Linux is Debian based. Okay, majorly Linux operating system are Debian based. Desktop side, you will see operating system that are mostly Debian based. Server side, you will see mostly operating system are RPM based, but that's changed totally. It's changes every time. So what is the difference? Which one is good? Which one is bad? Right? Should I use RPM based or should I use Debian based? Now, this is the similar question as which smartphone should I buy? Should I go for iPhone or should I go for Android? I mean, let's say you have all the money. Okay, you can buy the most expensive Android phone, you can buy iPhone also. So which one will you go for and why? Or let's say I'm giving you free smartphones, you have to make a choice, iPhone or Android phone. Okay, price is not a factor here, so don't consider price as a factor. Tell me which one will you select, Android or iPhone, and also tell me why. You can answer in the chat. Come on, I'm giving you free smartphone. iPhone. Okay, you have to tell why. Okay, tell why. Okay, all iPhone fan here. Okay, Android fan we also have. Good. All right, yes, we have Android also. Come on, iPhone is winning. Where are Android guys? Okay, because application flexibility. Okay, you have to say why also, not just Android or iPhone. Why? Tell me why. Wow, that was a very different answer, Firoz. iPhone is a built house, Android is an empty house. You can customize as you like. That's something new, first time. Android more cheaper cost to repair. Okay, yeah, that also makes sense. Maintenance, right? Okay, so you see varieties of answers, guys. Right, look at other answers, right? Some says iPhone is secure, that's why you want to use it. Some says Android is very customizable, so I want to use that. A lot of feature available in Android. So if the money is not the factor, then we go as per the requirement. But also the brand name also should not be the factor in making decisions. Okay, so maintenance cost, right? That is also new. Android more cheaper cost to repair. Yes, that's true. I repaired my iPad, the screen was cracked, and the cheapest of the cheapest, they charged me 6,000 rupees to change the screen. Okay, iPad, not even iPhone. And if it's iPhone, then boom, gone. Right, so maintenance cost is also there, right? Right, so like that, guys, from now onwards, your decisions in software, should I go with this software or that software, this operating system, that operating system, uh, go as per the requirement, right? So RPM based operating system and Debian based, this is the difference. You can think RPM as like an iPhone based and Debian as Android. Both are Linux only, but just to make you understand, RPM based are more stable and more, what you can say, robust, because before rolling out any new features or any new software, RPM based will test the software a lot, okay, compared to Debian based. Now Debian based will also do the test, but not as much as the RPM based, okay, especially Red Hat RHEL, right? They will test for compatibility and many things. But because of that, yes, you get a stable operating system, but maybe I want to use the latest and greatest features, right? In DevOps we always need latest and greatest, right? So then what do? Well, we have Debian base, which will give you latest and greatest softwares. So like this based on the requirement. Like for example, I'm gonna go with Jenkins. I want to use all latest and greatest things. So I will use Ubuntu operating system, install Jenkins on that. But if I want to run MySQL database, I need stability and security. I will go with CentOS or RHEL. So it should be based on requirement, not with the popular naming conventions or popularity, or my friend said or manager said or client said, right? Requirement based. We're going to make all the decisions. So where any software tool I present to you, I'm going to tell you why we are using this requirement. Okay. So being a DevOps, you will be seeing RPM based also, Debian based also, right? So you should be comfortable in both. Right, I'm gonna show you the differences. Mostly we'll be doing everything on CentOS in Linux side, and then at the end of the Linux day, I'm going to show you the difference between CentOS and Android, CentOS and Ubuntu. All right, Android is too much in my brain, maybe. Okay. Now, for example, if you quickly want to see what is the difference, right? So one difference is the check on the screen here. You want to install Google Chrome on Ubuntu, which is Debian based, right? So here the package name will be something like this: Google Chrome stable blah 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 dot deb. The packaging in Debian based operating system will be with deb. And if you want to install this, the command line will be dpkg-i and the package name. Okay, this is Debian based. Same software you want to install on RPM based, you will have the package name something like this, which is different than this. See? And at the end you have .rpm. Basically both are the same software, okay, but their packaging is different. To install the command in RPM is rpm-ivh and the package name. So this is actually the real difference. Packaging, RPM based means RPM packaging is there. Softwares are packaged into RPM. Debian means they will be packaged into Debian format. Like Windows software are packaged into exe, msi, dll, right? Androids, apk, right? Like that. RPM based means packaging will be done in RPM format. So then you see other differences also. The software names are also different. Versioning, the command to install them are also different. So yes, the difference starts with packaging, but then the difference grows more further. Package names will be different, software names, their configuration files name will be different, the commands will be different, right? But it won't be a big problem, don't worry. Mostly day-to-day life, the command differences will be there. Okay, that's what. All right, let's quickly see some basic commands. Again, in Linux we have already seen some commands. All right, so enough talking, and now it's going to be action. Tomorrow, day after tomorrow, okay, we're going to have lots of actions. I'm going to execute a lot of command, guys. I don't want you to by heart commands. I'm going to give you the history of these commands. That means I'm going to run a command called as history. Okay, this command shows all the previously executed command. So I will take this and put it on Google Classroom. All you need to do is just practice them. Easy peasy, Japanesey. Okay, just practice, don't initially for 1 or 2 days, maybe you have doubts, ask me in the class, no problem. But if you feel some doubt, why this command, why that command, still practice it, ask me on the next day. You've shown this command, what is the purpose of it, how is it working, and stuff like that. Okay, I'm here. But without any doubt, you have to practice everything, and again and again and again you have to practice. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Okay, you need to be very, if you are not a command line person, you need to be a command line person, and you have 3 days for that: today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. In these 3 days you need to be very comfortable with command line. Yeah, it's possible. Okay, most of my students will be comfortable in command line in 3 days only if they're practicing. Okay, if not, then I can't do anything. Right? So practice, 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 practice. That's all you need to do. I'll explain you each and every command, how they work and what is the purpose. Your end, you need to practice. That's all. Well, I'm using the word practice too many times now. Okay, let me log out, log out. Okay, so starting with, you bring up the VM, you did Vagrant up, the VM is up, then you say Vagrant SSH, you log in. When you do Vagrant SSH, you log in with which user?
Vagrant user.
Vagrant user. Okay. Okay, I'm logged into the Vagrant user. Can you tell me which directory I am in? I have not shown you, I'm not on PWD, but tell me, look at the prompt, which directory I will be in.
Host directory. Host directory.
Host
Vagrant.
directory. What is host directory? Home
Vagrant.
directory, not host directory. Home directory.
Home
Okay.
directory.
Home directory of what? Home directory of
Vagrant user.
which user?
Normal user.
Vagrant. Which is /home/vagrant. So if you do PWD, you can see that. Right? Nice. Good job, guys. Okay. So I will be running all the commands with Vagrant user today. Okay. So PWD, ls is to list. You can say ls and the directory name. You can list content from other directories also. Okay. Or ls etc. Clear command is to clear the screen. Okay. Who am I is to tell you what user you are. Cat command is to read the file, print the file content. So I will show you one file, cat etc os release. This is a file, text file. This is a text file. This contains the operating system information. So cat command is going to print the content of it. Okay, so name CentOS Linux version 7. So basically CentOS 7. Okay, ID like RHEL. So it is saying that it is like RHEL and Fedora. Okay, so if you know RHEL and Fedora, that means this is same like that. Okay, clear. Nice. Okay, now I'm going to run a command which will create a directory. You already know the command, which is mkdir. I will create a directory called DevOps. I can create like that multiple directories. I can create, let's say, ops, and I will say Tesla, and I'll say backup. See, I created multiple directories, right? When I type ls and hit enter, it will list the current working directory content. Right? Now let's create some file touch. My first file .txt. Now touch command will create empty file. Okay, there's the file. It's empty file. Okay, now yes, you can say blue is a directory and white color is a file, but that color is coming from the tool git bash. It is not coming from Linux. Okay, so you may have no color also. So how do you identify between directory and files? ls-l -l is an option to the ls command. It will show detailed information. So at the beginning, if you see a D, that means that's a directory. Folder, right? Directory means folder. If you see a minus the beginning, that means it's a file, normal file. Okay, now let's create some more file touch, and this time I'll create multiple file at once. I will say bash file, and I will give this curly brace, and inside that I'll give a range 1.4.txt. Now this is going to create a range of files, bash file 1.txt, bash file 2.txt, like that. See, multiple files. This is just some fun. Okay, this is all fun exercises today. Clear, to clear the screen. ls list. Okay, now let's learn copying files. I want to copy this file into this backup directory. So I'll say cp bash file 1.txt. Now I'm not typing that fast, okay? I'm just typing now BA and hit tab. It will just complete it. Wait, BAC, and then I hit tab. Tab will complete. If you don't have anything with the same name, it will just complete that. So source and destination, copy this file into this directory. A / there means that backup is a directory. I want to copy file inside that directory. Okay, copied. ls and BAC tab will list the backups. You see, file is copied. Okay, now let's copy some more file. Let's copy bash file 2 again to backup. Nice. ls backup. Oops, sorry, I was doing / my bad. Backup. And both the files copied. Now let's copy a directory. cp. When you want to copy a directory, you have to give an option -r. I want to copy the backup directory into the Tesla directory. So basically copying this directory into this directory. And when you're doing that, you have to use an option -r. Done. And inside that you have backup. All right, nice. Okay, now -r is an option, and a command may have options. Like ls, we have -l option. Okay, now let me tell you about the Linux command syntax. All right, we are done for today. Just a few more things. Okay, command, option, arguments. That's how the Linux syntax is. So first we have the command. So here command is the cp, and then you have the options. So -r is the option here, and then you have the arguments. So the source and destination directories are here the arguments. Like ls is a command, ls-l is an option, and ls-l option and the argument maybe /temp. So you see, some commands arguments are mandatory. Like cp command, you need to pass the source and destination. ls command, not mandatory to pass the argument. If you don't pass, it will think current working directory. -l options are options because that's why they're optional. Okay, you can use them. If you don't want, you don't use them. Simple. One command can have many options, many options. Like cp command -help. -help, the most used option, I would say. So any command you want to know the options behind that, use -help. It will show you all the options available for that command. Okay, so you don't need to by heart the options, right? So -help will show you first the usage, how to use that command, different usage, and it will show you options. -a, -f to force, right? -i for interactive, and -r for recursive. See that? Copy directories recursively, right? Like that, every commands will have some or the other options. Now let's run mv command. mv is to move. I want to move a DevOps directory into backup directory. Okay, move. So gone. It should be in the backup directory, right? So mv command is also used to rename files. So you can say mv, and maybe I want to rename backup directory with the name my backup or system underscore backup. See, its name is changed. MV is also to rename. Okay, last command for today, rm. Rm is to remove. Rm, and you give the file name. I'll say bash file3.txt. Remove it. You want to remove a directory, you have to say rm-r ops remove. Okay, rm command is to remove. All right, so we have few more things in the command line. We will be seeing them tomorrow, and after we see few other things here in the command line, then we will be starting with writing text. So some basic commands, some more basic absolute path, relative path, we'll see the difference, and then we are going to start with text editor, vim. Okay, how to write texts in Linux, how to write text files, create text file, edit them. We'll be seeing that. Different types of files, we'll create in some link file, and we'll be also seeing filters and redirection. Okay, so many things on your plate tomorrow, but really very easy, writing text files and doing search and replace, stuff like that. Very basic things in Linux. But as I said, all you need to do is practice. History. Okay, so these are all the commands that I executed as Vagrant user. You just have to practice them, that's all. Okay, when you want to remove everything, I will show you a quick thing today. rm-rf star. Be careful where you are running this command. Star means everything, so this is going to basically remove everything from here. Very dangerous command, guys, but I've shown you today for a reason. So rinse and repeat, I told you, right? So you remove it, then you create files and directory, then copy, move, or do all those things, then again remove. So to quickly remove everything, this is the command. Okay, don't run this command as the root user, and make sure where you're running this command. All right, so all those commands for today, and practice them. Any doubts? Okay, I have also put the Linux quick start guide. Whatever I have told you today, whatever you have seen, everything is there in this PDF. You can download it and start reading it and start practicing. So all you need to do is use the PDF, use the commands, and practice. That's all. Recursive means one after the other, one inside the other. That's what recursive means. Okay, like one directory inside other directory inside other directory, like there multiple, everything inside that, subdirectories, files, everything. That's what recursive means. All right, so no questions. All right, then I will see you tomorrow with yeah, CentOS is sufficient. You don't need to do dual boot for this course. Okay, dual boot is just for fun. If you want to use, instead of Windows, if you want to use Linux as a desktop, do dual boot. That's all. Laptop specs to buy practice. It's nothing like that. You can just go with whatever comes in today's time. You buy a laptop, it should definitely come with what, 8 GB of RAM today. That will be more than sufficient, and nice processors and hard disk speed and all. So whatever
Hi,
laptop,
Imran. 8 is good or 16 is what we need because we'll be running
8 is
all of the
fine,
tools.
totally fine. 16 will be nice if you're going to do a lot of R&D on your laptop. So if you can spend extra money, get 16. I really recommend you get 16. But if
And
you
between
cannot,
i3 and i5,
anything is fine. All right, guys, then I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.